Saraswati, I have an adult card for the date. I idolized 87, NCD, Ahmedabad, India, JU12. 25 in one of the gravest aviation disasters in recent Indian history. Air Flight AI171, a Boeing 787 and Dreamliner en route from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick, crashed shortly after takeoff, killing all 242 people aboard and causing extensive damage to a residential area. The tragedy has sent shockwaves across India, the United Kingdom. INCIDent OVR Verdo High Flight AI171 took off from Sardarvala by Paddle International Airport at approximately 13:30 AIST's 082 AUTC. Within minutes of takeoff, the flight crew issued a MAYDAY call while the aircraft was still climbing through 6 to 25 feet. Moments later, radar contact was lost, and the aircraft was seen descending rapidly before colliding with a doctor's hostel located on the premises of BJ Medical College in the Meghani Narg area of Ahmedabad. Eyewitnesses reported a fiery explosion as the aircraft impacted the building, resulting in a large fireball and plumes of black smoke visible across the city. The blast shook nearby structures and caused panic in the densely populated area. Several bystanders captured the moment on mobile devices, footage of which is now circulating widely on social media. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, but all 230 passengers and 12 crew members were confirmed dead. Several residents and students on the ground were also injured, with multiple casualties feared. The damage extended to nearby hostels, medical housing units, parts of the adjacent medical college infrastructure. IRFN CRW else, the aircraft involved was a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, registered VTANB, delivered to Air India in 2014. Logged over 40,000 flying hours across nearly 700-800 flight cycles. The aircraft was powered by General Electric Jenks engines and was reportedly carrying a full load of fuel at the time of the crash. Captain Sumit Sabarwal, with over 200 hours of flight experience, was in command. First Officer Clive Kunder had logged approximately 100 hours. Both pilots were considered highly competent, and no prior performance issues have been reported. Sources from Air India confirmed that both had undergone recurrent training in accordance with DGCA regulations, and simulator assessments from earlier this year showed satisfactory results. The manifest listed 169 Indian nationals, 53 British citizens, 7 Portuguese nationals, and 1 Canadian aboard the aircraft. Among the deceased was Vijay Rupani, the former Chief Minister of Gujarat, who was en route to a private event in the United Kingdom. His death has spurred additional political tributes and expressions of grief. A number of passengers were students, professionals, and tourists, many of whom were believed to be on summer travel or visiting family abroad. The international composition of the passenger list underscores the wide-reaching impact of this tragedy, with consular officials from the UK, Portugal, and Canada arriving in Ahmedabad to assist in identification and repatriation efforts. Response and rescue local emergency services, including the Ahmedabad Fire and Emergency Services, Central Industrial Security Force, CIs, and National Disaster Response Force, NDRF, were dispatched immediately. 7 fire engines responded to the scene. Rescue operations continued throughout the evening, with the injured transported to nearby hospitals. The response was further supported by the Gujarat State Disaster Management Authority, GSDMA, which set up temporary shelters and trauma counseling centers. Due to the dense urban surroundings and risk of additional structural collapses, responders had to carefully coordinate entry into affected buildings. Ahmedabad Airport was temporarily closed and surrounding roads were cordoned off as recovery operations proceeded. The Air India Family Assistance Center has been activated, and a toll-free number 1800-569-1444 has been issued for relatives. Passengers' families have begun arriving in Ahmedabad to identify remains and participate in last rites. DNA testing is being conducted for identification in severely burned cases. OFSIL stand Condolences. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed deep sorrow, calling the incident heartbreaking beyond words. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel visited the site and announced full state support for the affected families. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, King Charles III, and Queen Camilla extended their condolences, as did the Portuguese and Canadian foreign ministries. Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu has ordered a full inquiry. Air India's CEO issued a public apology and pledged transparency and cooperation with investigators. This is a dark day in the history of Indian aviation. We owe it to the victims and their families to uncover the truth, the CEO said in a press conference held later that evening. Opposition leaders also weighed in, urging the government to expedite compensation and accountability. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge and leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra both issued statements of condolence and called for a national aviation safety audit. Investigative, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau AAIB, and the Directorate General of Civil Aviation DGCA have launched a joint probe. Investigators from Boeing, GE Aerospace, and Air India are on site. The aircraft's black boxes, cockpit voice recorder, a CVR, and flight data recorder, FDR, are being retrieved for analysis. Initial data suggests that a catastrophic failure occurred during the climb, possibly linked to the engine or control systems. Sources have indicated that both engines were operating at high thrust settings at the time of the descent, pointing to potential aerodynamic issues rather than engine failure alone. Maintenance logs from the aircraft's most recent checks have been seized for review. Investigators are also examining air traffic control recordings, weather data, and aircraft telemetry. With clear weather conditions at the time of takeoff, environmental factors have been provisionally ruled out. Satellite imaging and surveillance footage from the area may offer further clues. This marks the first ever fatal accident involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, a type that entered commercial service in 2011 and had an exemplary safety record until now. For Air India, it is the deadliest disaster since the 1985 bombing of Flight 182 over the Atlantic Ocean. Aviation analysts note that the Dreamliner series had been viewed as a technological leap forward in terms of fuel efficiency and avionics. With over 100 Boeing 787s in service globally, the implications of this incident are significant. Crash is expected to initiate global re-evaluation of life maintenance and systems resilience in the 787 series. Ahmedabad in the wake of the crash. Boeing stock fell by 7.7% and GE Aerospace shares declined by 4.1%. Analysts suggest renewed scrutiny on the Dreamliner series, especially aircraft powered by Jinx engines. This has raised concerns among carriers such as American Airlines, ANA, and British Airways, which operate large 787 fleets. Air India has grounded several of its 787s pending additional check. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation is likely to issue airworthiness directives requiring enhanced inspections of engine mounts, flight control systems, and electronic interface modules. Airlines around the world have been alerted to monitor their fleets closely. Insurance liabilities from the crash are estimated to reach over $750 million, covering hull loss, passenger compensation, and third-party damages. Air India, already undergoing a post-privatization transition under the Tata Group, faces heightened scrutiny over fleet management and safety culture. As rescue and identification efforts continue, Air India and government agencies are preparing compensation for victims' families under the Montreal Convention. Counseling services and logistical support are being provided to next of kin. Public grief has transformed into calls for systemic reform. Activists and civil aviation professionals are urging mandatory upgrades in pilot training, automated diagnostics, and real-time telemetry sharing with ground stations. Further updates will follow as the investigation progresses. The global aviation community now looks to India's regulators, Boeing, and GE for answers to what caused this unprecedented tragedy. Full findings from the AAIB preliminary report are expected within 30 days, with a final report due in 6 to 8 months.